All right, my friends, I'm going live here for our tutorial today on the low, messy updo. So let me just get myself situated a little bit here as you guys join in. Fortunately, for some reason I can't get my camera to work on my computer, so now I'm doing this off of my phone, and so I really would love to be able to answer your questions and to have a great chat. So I'm just trying to see how to do that on my phone. And I'm not totally positive. I'm really not a very good person at tech, so I just have to apologize straight off the bat. Tech is so not my strong suit. But that's okay, because as long as you can hear me and you can see me and you can see what I'm doing, then we're going to be good, right? So I would love to see a little hello in the chat, just so I know that I can maybe see you or you guys can hear me. So if you can do that for me, that'd be awesome. And I'll just try to figure out how I can do this. Not totally sure. Just say hello if you're here. So I can make sure to answer anybody's questions. We're right at 4 o'clock now. So I'll give people a little bit of time to join in. But yes, if you're watching this live, please say hello and post a question so I can see if it works. That's really my main goal here. So I'm going to be using this mannequin head today. She has fairly long hair, but the style I'm going to teach is going to be usable on many different hair types. It's a really versatile look, and that's why I want to teach it, because it's one of those things that you can have in your back pocket and you can use on a lot of different people, including bridesmaids and brides alike. So I think it's a really great one. Something else to keep in mind is I think that you just need to have good products. Good products really help make a hairstyle, and I'm going to show you the products that I use today, but I'm always open to other suggestions of products to be used. So if you have any questions about products, please post them in the comments. And if you maybe don't have questions in particular about products, but you want to give me one that you're using that you like, then I'm happy to do that too. So I'm going to be teaching this on a really granular level. I want to take it really basic. I want to answer lots of questions. I want to be able to really break down step by step why I'm doing what I'm doing, so you have an opportunity to learn the whys of this updo. And I think that's really helpful, because then you know how to replicate it and why you're doing what you're doing. So I'm going to be really cautious to talk a lot about the whys. Again, if you're just joining, I would love to see like a hello in the comment. Let me just check my computer up here and see if I have any luck seeing comments off my computer. Again, I apologize for the lack of tech stuff. It's really not my strong suit, but I'm learning and I'm growing, and I will get it down. So I'm not trying to say I'm never going to get it right on the tech, because I think eventually I will. Let's just see here. Okay, I see myself live. That's good. Okay, guys. I'm going to get started. So again, say hello in the comments, because I want to see if I can see your comments from my phone, and then I can answer questions. All right, so to get started, what you need to do first is we're going to prep her hair. So first things first, when you're doing any updo, you want to have good prep. I want to get the hair ready for the curling iron. I want to get it ready for the style that I'm about to do. So I'm going to use a flexible hold hairspray. Today I'm using Sexy Hair Spray and Play, and I'm using this because it is flexible. And so I'm going to start by just going through, and I'm going to be hairspraying through all of the hair and just getting it through all of there, from the tops to the bottoms. If you have a client who has like some crazy oiliness up in her scalp, I would recommend doing dry shampoo first. So flexible hold hairspray, Then I'm going to grab a paddle brush and I'm going to brush through it to distribute the hairspray. So if I just do hairspray first and I don't brush it through, and then I take my curling iron and I start to curl, I'm going to get crunchy curls that don't move, and they're not going to look soft, and they're not going to look nice in my nice low messy updo. So that's why I'm brushing this through first, because I want it to be very soft when I curl it and not be crunchy. So that's step one. Now step two, for this updo, we are going to be sectioning it in a really distinct way so you can see exactly how to section for this updo. So it's going to be low. My foundation and my base is going to be low at the nape of her neck, and I'm going to use the front of the hair last for detailing, and the top of the hair is going to come over the top for detailing too. So I'm going to section out the top to do at the very end as well as the front. So we're going to start at the very top. I already have her part in. I have a deep side part, and I'm going to make one section from the top of her crown to the sides of her ears. And the first thing I'm going to do is clip that away. So I'm using alligator clips, and they're the big plastic kind so they can hold a lot of hair. And I'm sectioning from the top of the crown to the top of the ear. And I'm going to section that away so I can use that later. Now, one thing you may notice is that I am not curling all of it first before I get started. There are some updos that you can curl first. However, most updos you can curl as you go, and that not only saves you time, but it also helps you keep really nice, neat updos that don't have a lot of frizz, because once you curl it and then you come back through and you start pulling it apart and sectioning it, that's when it starts to get frizzy, and where you start to get a lot of loose strands out and you start to get a lot of pull from your fingers. So that's why I'm curling afterwards, after I section. All right, so now I have my back section, and I'm going to section it into 3 parts. So I'm going to take the crown, the middle, and then leave the bottom out. So for the crown, what I want to do is take a rounded section. So that means I'm going to take it around the top of the crown. And the reason I'm doing more of a rounded section is because I like to follow the shape of the head, and that helps my updo look really natural and helps me to make sure that the hair is going to lay in a really in a nice direction that doesn't look like too stiff or too defined, or where you start to see you start to see the head, the scalps show through. So that's the reason why I section in the shape of the head, because then the style looks really soft and just flows really nicely. Okay, and then my next section is going to be from the top of the ears all the way across to the other side on the top of this ear. So that is going to be my next section, and I'm going to just take my tail comb and go across. So a tail comb is a must-have for this look, and I think a tail comb is just a must-have for any updo, to be honest. Okay, and now I'm going to clip this away. So this is our sections, or these are our sections, I should say. This is our bottom section that we're going to work with first. We have the midsection, we have the very top, which is the rounded section, and then in the very front, I have it sectioned the part, and then it's sectioned from the top of the head to the top of the ear. And that is how we are going to begin this updo. Now, I said in the event that I was going to talk a little bit about how to break down a picture. And I was going to talk about 3 elements that you need to think about when breaking down a picture. So the first element that I want you to think about when a bride brings you a picture is, where is the foundation? And I think about that with every updo that I do. So with this one in particular, it's going to be low, and this is where I want to build my foundation, where all the pins are going to come, where I'm going to have the most secure part that I know isn't going to fall out. So if my bride is spending the whole night dancing all the night through, even if some strands fall loose around her face or something like that, she's not going to have the whole thing fall apart. And so that's why I need to make sure every updo that I do, I have a great foundation. So when you look at a picture that a bride brings you, the first thing you should be thinking about is, where is the foundation? Where is the hair coming to? And then you can start to go from there. Sorry, I have a hair in my mouth, and I don't know how to get it out. Okay, so this is our beginning, and what you need here is a little elastic. Let me find mine, it's over here. And then you're gonna wanna have some texture spray and your curling iron. So I'm gonna start out by creating my foundation. The way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna start by putting texture spray throughout. And I'm using texture spray so I can create some grip on the hair because this is where all the pins and the curls are gonna be coming and pinning into, all right? So I wanna have a lot of grip in this section. So I'm gonna go through and do texture spray at the base of the hair. So into my hair scalp, I'm kind of pulling up sections and doing texture spray. And then I'll just do a little bit throughout. And then I can feel that it's got some grip to it. The texture spray I'm using today is called Texture Air. That's A-I-I-R. There you go. And it's from Confessions of a Hairstylist. It's a great lightweight texture spray that I really enjoy. It smells really nice too. Okay, once you've done the texture spray, then I'm going to go through and back comb. So I'm going to be back combing in horizontal sections all the way through this whole section. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to build some stability in my base. So this is my foundation. Like I said, the base of the whole updo. So I'm going to do back combing throughout. And I'll work around this whole section, taking up a little bit at a time, and back comb all of this. So to back comb this section, I'm just holding the hair really loosely, starting mid-strand and back combing in. And the only part I'm not back combing is the very, very bottom under here, because I don't want to see any fuzzy back combing coming out. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to take your hair, gather it up, and I'm going to put this all into a ponytail. So we're going to gather it together, and you can feel that we have some bulk in here. So once you've created that texture in there with the texture spray and then used your comb to do back combing, you can feel that the hair has some grip, and that's what you want. If you skip this step, you won't have a very good foundation to build your updo on, and hair will slip out, and it won't look as, it won't get as big and won't be as like soft and free flowing as you want. So once you do that, then you're going to just pull this out a little bit. So I'm just holding on to the binder that I just put in and pulling a little bit of the hair out. And that will make sure that I have lots of room to pin into this part, and it's nice and soft and create some volume. So now this is going to be my base, this section here. So this is my ponytail base. And you have a couple options. For this particular updo, because I have thicker hair here, I am going to do a 2-strand twist, back comb it, and pin it. If the hair is finer, you can just do 1 twist like this. You don't have to do 2-strand. But I'm going to do 2 strands because her hair is a little bit thicker, and I want to get some of this hair to build bulk in here. So I'm doing a 2-strand twist, like so, all the way down to the end. And then I'm going to take a wide tooth comb, and I'm going to back comb this whole twist. So I'm holding really loosely, and I'm just pushing up with my wide tooth comb. And it's going to be a little bit messy. I'm doing it on the top and the bottom, but that's okay. It's okay if it's messy because this is my base, all right? You're not going to see this. This is just building volume, and it's building the base. So the key is to get this as big as you want for the type of bun that you want. I want to have a fairly big bun, so that's why I want to make this big like this. Once it's here, I'm going to take a little more texture spray, spray it throughout, pull it out in any way that you want to make sure it's big enough. So I'm making it big enough that it's the same amount of bulk all the way through. And then we're going to twist it up into a bun shape. So you'll twist it into a bun and just hold it loosely with your hands. And then you're going to take your pins and just pin in around the edges. So I'm going to grab an edge of the twist and then push it down into that back combing. And I'm going to do that all the way around the edges. And I want to do this, the bottom too, to make sure I get the end in. So I'm just going around each twist that I see and putting a pin in it, and then making sure that I have tucked in my end here. So I'll just grab this with the bobby pin and pull it around, tuck it in. So at this point, what you want to do is go around and make sure you have the base really secure. Because this is where, got it, you guys. It's a mannequin head here in my mouth. Okay, gross. So you're going to make this part be really secure. So you want to put in enough pins to make sure that you have a great strong base, all right? So you want to give it a little bit of wiggle, and then you also want to check for balance. So you want to look at it and make sure that it's balanced and even, that it has enough bulk that you want. So take a look from all sides and make sure it's as big as you want. If it's not, and you're not happy with it, it is no problem to start over. I think sometimes we think once we get going, we can't stop doing what we're doing because our brides will get nervous or something. It's not true. If it's not looking how you want it from the very beginning, it's not going to look how you want it like at the end, and you're going to end up making more mistakes or trying to make up for something that you did at this point. So I just want to encourage you to make sure this is exactly how you want it. So once it's the size that you want it, has the shape that you want, and it feels nice and secure, then you can go back through with your flexible hairspray and spray this in. So you want to make sure that there aren't like frizzy pieces hanging out. You want to make sure all the hair is off the neckline. So then you're not coming back through at the end of your updo and jamming bobby pins in underneath to pin up all these little hairs at the neckline. This is where you are taking care of all this hair on the neckline. So make sure that's nice and clean. Make sure this is secure. And I can't stress enough to make sure that this has the balance that you want. So this is your base. All right, guys, that is step one for this updo, all right? So now that we have that in place, we're not touching it anymore, we're done with that. Now we're gonna take the next section and pull this down. Now with this section, I'm gonna start to use my curling iron. So I'm gonna curl this in 4 parts. 4 equal sections, I'm gonna do 1 curl. Because I've already hairsprayed this, I don't need to hairspray each section again. But if you have someone who has really fine hair, or really slippery hair, or virgin hair that just doesn't have much grip, then you could go through and spray this again. But in my case, her hair has a lot of texture in it, so that's why I don't need to go through and spray one more time. Okay, so we're gonna do 4 sections. You can divide the hair into 4 equal parts. And then I'm going to curl these 4 parts. So you see how I have my 4 sections here? So the 2 here on the outside, I'm going to take my curling iron and I'm going to curl in towards the middle and all the way down to the end. And then I'm just going to walk the hair out and let that sit and do the same thing with this one. I don't like to touch the curls too much because I want them to have a chance to set a little bit, and I also want to avoid having frizzy hair. Here we go. And then I'm going to do these 2 sides. So now these 2 sections I'm going to curl inward as well. Curling them in, walking the hair down. And the size of the curling iron that you use here doesn't matter. I'm teaching you the technique, and so you can use whatever size that you want and still use the same technique. You'll just get a little bit different look, but the technique will stay the same. So if you want to have an updo that has, you know, much bigger curls in the back, then use a bigger curling iron. If you want an updo with tighter curls in the back, then use a smaller curling iron. You can try this out on a mannequin head, on some friends, and see what kind of style you like the best. Okay, once you have these curled, before you touch them, I want you to take your texture spray again, and we're gonna just spray each one. All right, now this is gonna start building your bun. So I'm gonna take the two center sections. The first thing I'm gonna do is just pin them to the top of the bun I just created. So I'm just going to give it a little twist in the same direction that the curl is going. So the curl is going in this direction toward the center. I'm going to twist it here, and I'm going to put this pin straight down into the top of the bun that I just made. Do the same thing on this side. So I'm giving it a little twist, and then pinning it down to the top. So now I have these two curls pinned to the very top of the bun. I'm going to do the same thing with the outside. So I'm going to twist them in and pin it to the very top of the bun, leaving the ends out. Now remember how we did all that back combing in here. So that's why when I pin the top of these curls into this bun, there's a lot of security in there. So now what you want to do is go through and put a few more pins in just to make sure that those are nice and secure. And you can tell your client to give her head a little shake if you want to make sure they're good. Okay, so now you have these four ends coming out. And we are going to start pinning these to build our bun. So I'm going to start with the two outside curls here. So you can see how they're kind of all in a row. I'm going to start with these ones, and I'm going to bring these around the side. So what I'm doing is just taking the shape of this curl. So I'm not opening it up, I'm not pulling my fingers through, I'm just following it. I'm kind of honoring the curl and letting it go where it wants. So I'm going to follow this curl shape to the side of the head, and I'm going to pin it to the side here. So this is starting to build some of the bulk on the outside. I'm going to take another pin here, do another one. So you want to have the look be really soft, but you want to make sure it stays too. So you can see that I move this around and it's not going anywhere. So I can just leave that like that. And then I'll go through on this side. I'm going to do the same thing with this outward curl. So I'm following the curl, the shape of the curl, and I'm going to pin it to the outside. Now you don't want to use hairpins here, you want to use closed bobby pins because they're going to stay better for the outside. And I'm pinning it into the side of this bun. This is feeling a little bit stiff, so if you come across a curl that has a little bit of stiffness to it, you can pull it apart slightly with your fingers and break it up so it's not sticking out strange. So you can see how when I pulled it with my fingers, it softened up a bit, and now I can bring this to the side. Okay, so now I have my two outside curls. Now I'm going to do the inside curls. So for these ones, we're going to start to build a little bit of the shape underneath. So I'm going to take my first one, and this is where you can kind of use your creativity. So I want my bun to be fairly large, so I'm going to pull this apart. So I have two curls here instead of the one big one. And this will determine, based on the person that you're working with. If she has really fine hair, not very much, you won't have much to pull apart, so you're not going to do that. If she has really, really thick hair, you might have three curls. You can pull three curls out, like three sections out. So this is where, like I said, you want to just get a little bit creative and use what you have to create the shape that you want. So I've pulled these two curls apart here, and I'm going to bring them underneath. So what I'll do then, see if I can let you see this a little bit better. So this is my section right here. I'm going to pull them under here. And what I'll do is take the one, and I'm going to take my bobby pin and just grab some of the hair, not even all of it, just some in the middle, and I'm just going to weave it into the bun. So I'm kind of going back and forth up into the bun that I created, and I'll do the same thing with this piece. That way it stays really soft and loose, but you're still securing it because you have that great base underneath that you created with the bun. So you can move your bobby pin back and forth. It's kind of sewing in the hair, and you can see it starts to create the shape underneath like that. And then you can do the same thing on this side. So I'll take this, split it into two parts, and I'm just going to bring these in underneath like that. So for this one, twist it, grabbing a little bit of it with the bobby pin, and then I'm just weaving it in there. And then same thing here. And for this, I'm not even going all the way to the nape of the neck. I'm just going up into the bun that I've created. Okay, so this now is where you can get a little creative before you move on. You want to take a look at this section right here. So I'm looking at this and I want to check for balance. So I already have a good foundation of my bun here, and I want to see, do I have any parts that look like they're sticking out? Does one side feel bigger than the other? You want to step away from your work, look at it from all sides, and create some balance. If you get lopsided right here, when you pull the top down over the top, that's when you're going to start to lose your style, and you'll start pulling and curling in sections, and that's when it starts to get messy. So here we want to make sure that we have a lot of balance and you have it exactly how you want it. So I am seeing that this side could use a little fullness up in this corner. So what I'm going to do then is take here. Sorry, I lost you for a second there. All right. And then this side, same thing. To push into. So you can see that it's starting to have that sort of messy look, but it's not frizzy, which is key. All right, so once you have this nailed down, and it's how you like it, and you have the pieces out that you want, go through with your flexible hairspray and spray it down. And you're gonna resist the temptation to touch it, okay? Go back and touch, but we don't need to. All right, now we're gonna pull down the top. So at this point, what you need to think about is how much volume you want to have in your style. So this brings me to breaking down a photo part 2. So the first one is figuring out where the foundation and the base is in your photo. That's this. The second part is looking at the profile, or you don't always have a profile in your picture. So looking at the back of the head, figuring out how much volume they have. And when you're thinking about volume, you're also thinking about texture and you're thinking about curl. So what I mean by that is when you're looking at the picture, does the top, is it really smooth? Is it really big? Does it have a lot of wave to it? Does it have twist to it? Does it have a braid in it? What kind of texture, what kind of things are going on in the top and the crown and the volume of the hair, and what technique do you have to use? So if it's really smooth, then you have to think about, how am I going to get this top really smooth? If there's a braid in it, you have to think about, okay, how am I going to section the hair to get the braid in and have enough hair left over to be able to build the bottom that I want? If there is a lot of texture, you have to think about, okay, do I have to use twisting? Do I need to use a crimper? Do I need to use my flat iron to create those to create all that texture? So that's the second thing you need to think about, is how much texture, what's going on in the volume, and how am I going to create that to have hair left over? So for this look, we're going to go smoother on the top. And so when I'm thinking about this one, I know I want to have a little bit of volume, and I don't want to have any twists or braids or anything in here. I just want it to be smooth, but I want a little volume. So in order to do that, I'm going to start by creating my volume first and then curling second. If I curl all this first and then go back through and start back combing, I'm going to get really messy curls. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do my back combing first, and I'm going to follow the shape of the head. So that means that I'm going to take a horizontal section from the side of the part, and I'm going to hold this hair straight up, and I'm going to back comb from midsection down slightly, and then flip it over, and then continue to follow the same pattern on the other side. So I'm following the shape of the head by bringing the hair a little bit out at an angle, like this, not like this, because this is the shape of the head. And if you do that, you're gonna get really nice, even back combing, and you're not gonna have back combing that looks like an awkward poof or like a, I don't know, like a cone in the middle. Sometimes you can get back combing that like a volume that just looks like one chunk of volume down the middle, and that's not very cute. Okay, so we're gonna do like this, and back comb the last part of this section, like so. And then one more piece. Okay, so once you have that back combed, you're gonna pull all this back, and da-da-da-da. You can see I have some nice volume here. I'm just gonna comb through it because I don't want it to be frizzy. I don't want you to see the back combing. I just want it to be nice and smooth, but I want to have a little bit of that bulk. So I'm gonna kind of comb it in the shape that I want it to be, which is following the shape of the head. I'm combing it in the direction of this low updo, and I want the hair to come together on top of the bun here. So that's why I comb it into the section, or into the shape that I want it before I do anything else. So now that it's combed in here, now I'm gonna go through and curl it. So I have the volume that I want, and now I will go through and curl it, and I'm gonna curl this in 2 sections. So I'm gonna divide it in half, and I'm going to curl the end of this inward toward the center, walking my curling iron down. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm just walking it in and curling toward the center. Okay. And once I've done that, now I'm going to gather all this hair at the very top of the bun that I created. So I want it to land at the top, and I want it to have the shape and the amount of volume that I want. So what you're going to do is hold it loosely in your hands. You'll look in the mirror at your person, and you will use your fingers, or you can use your tail comb to give it the lift that you want. So I'm just going to use my tail comb in here because I did that back combing. It's lifting up nicely, and it's getting the shape that I want. And I'm still holding it loosely in my fingers. And now I'm twisting it slightly over the top, and now I'm going to pin it. So by doing the technique of back combing first and curling second, you can make sure to get a really nice smooth curls and get your back combing down exactly how you want it before you pin it. So I'm just going to put a few pins over the top, and I don't need to lay them flat. I can just push them down into the foundational bun that we made. So when I have that down like that, you can see they're just gathered at the very top like that. Now, this is where you can get kind of creative with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just separate these curls a little bit, and then I'm going to use my creativity to make the bun the shape and the look that I want. So at this point, I'm going to take these curls and I'm going to pull them out so they're a little bit bigger. So what I will do is, now that they're separated, I'm going to use some texture spray. So that was hairspray, texture spray. And with these ones, I'm going to pull them out a little bit. So I'm going to hold on to the end and just slightly pull them. And I'm going to twist this one up. And what I'm doing is just filling in and creating more of a shape into this bun. So I'm creating kind of the look that I want, one curl at a time. So I pulled that one up, and now I have a little bit of an end. Now I can pull this back down. Phone call, okay. And pin it into the bun, just like that. So I'll show you that again right here. So I'm going to take this strand, I'm going to pull it loose. So I'm just pulling it slightly to make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to follow the shape of the curl and pin it into my bun. So you can also, if you want the bun to go a little higher, you could also twist it up like this if you want to fill in the top. This is where you can kind of decide. I kind of liked that, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to pin this up here. So at this point, it's like you're using your creativity to take these ends and build into this updo to make it as much, as full as you want or as messy as you want it to be. But if you work really carefully, so by just following the shape of your curl and just pulling really slowly as you go and you're not doing it too fast, you can get a really lovely shape and make sure you have a really beautiful updo without it being too messy. Okay, so this one I'm going to twist in like that. So at this point, what I'm doing is I'm just looking at these pieces that I really like, and I'm just deciding what's a good spot for them. So this one, I twist, I didn't like it there, and I'm not pinning it all the way to the head. I'm literally just pinning it into the bun because I have that great, shape that I like already. So with this one too, I can take this, pulling it out loose, and I can decide, do I want it over here, do I want it to go up? I think this one looks nice up, so I'm going to push that up like that. So you're just using your creativity. And again, the biggest thing here is you want to just step back and check it for balance. So I'm just constantly stepping back, looking at the updo, making sure it has the balance that I want, that it's the right size, that it's same on both sides, that you have as much pieces hanging out as you want. Once you have that down, then you can use hairspray. But don't use hairspray until you love it. Because the more you go through and touch it, that's how these updos get really frizzy. And that's how you start to get not a messy look, but a frizzy look, okay? So wait till you're done to do the hairspray, and then don't touch it again. Okay guys, now we're down to the final step. So I'm taking out my front, and with my thicker side, we're going to go over here first. Dun, dun, dun. Thicker side, I'm going to divide this into two parts because she has more hair here, so I don't want it to get too thick. So I'm going to take two vertical sections here and curl these inward. And at this point, you want to decide with your bride how much hair you want to have left out in the front. And if you want to have anything left out, you kind of want to talk about any volume you want to have in the front here. We're just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to pull it back really softly. So I'm doing a curl. Let me do the other section too. Curl here, and then I'm going to curl here, and then I'm going to use a little texture spray. We're going to pull them back to meet the low, messy bun. All right, so once you have this how you want it, curled, then we're going to take the texture spray, spray it throughout, and bring it back over the top of the bun. So I will take the hair, follow the curl that I just created, and I'm going to pull it out a little bit looser, and I'm going to bring it over the top of my bun. And so then I can just put a pin in right in the top. Just going to do two, and if you need more security, then you can do a couple in right here so it doesn't get too puffy. And I just loosely brought that over the top. So you can see I just laid it over the top of my bun. Now I'm going to come back to this side because I like to go back and forth, and that makes sure that I have the balance that I need. I'm going to take this whole section, curl this away from her face. And again, at this point you want to leave out any hair that you desire to have left around the face. And then I'm going to pull this over the top. So just gently bringing it across, and you can, use your fingers to make it looser if you want it to be a little bit more of a swept look. So you can loosen it up softly with your fingers. And I'm just gonna put 2 pins in here. So 1 in the middle, and I have a lot of good back combing in there, so that's why these are sticking great. And then over the top. And I'll show you how that looks. So I've laid that one over the top. So now we have our 2 pieces that are laid over the top. And I'm gonna go through and finish with this last one, and then we're gonna tie up the ends. So the last element of breaking down a photo that is huge, and what I think is the most important part, is asking the right questions. So what I mean by that is a bride might bring you a photo and she's like, I love this. This is exactly what I want. And you say, okay, and then you replicate it and she's like, wait a minute, I don't like that. And you're like, but I made this look exactly like the picture. And you're like, and she's like, yeah, I don't like it. And the reason is because you didn't know that actually she didn't want the exact picture, she just liked the braid that was in it. Or she just liked the placement of the bun. Or she just liked the style of curl that was in it. So my number 3 and biggest tip for breaking down a photo is to ask the bride, what do you like about this picture? Tell me your favorite parts. And the bride might tell you something that you did not expect. Okay, side note really quick. So this part doesn't puff out. You want to take a few pins in and just stick your pin in towards the head and then push it back towards you and then just cover up the end there. So you want to make sure that this hair in the front is laying softly and it's covering the ear if they want, it's pulled up above the ear if they want. This is where you consult with your bride to make sure the front lays exactly how they want. And then you can just put pins in, bobby pins, on the side, just really lightly to make sure it doesn't puff out, okay? So anyway, that's my other tip, is ask your bride, what do you like about this picture? Sometimes she likes exactly everything, but oftentimes it's better if your bride brings in 3 or 4 photos of what they really like, and she tells you the elements of what she likes in each photo, so you can take, you know, the side from this photo, the curls from that photo, the messiness of another one. But really you need to ask what she likes about that photo and find out what it is exactly that she's looking for. All right, so now we have these ends. And so this is where, again, you use your creativity to make the look that you want. So I can see right now that I want to have this go down the center because I want to fill in a little bit right here. So I'm just going to follow the shape of the curl. I'm letting it go where it wants. Take my pin, I'm just going to grab a little bit of the hair and I'm just weaving it in to the bun. And I'll weave those ends in as well. So I'm going to take these ends, grab them with my bobby pin. So I'm opening my bobby pin, grasping the ends of these curls, and I'm just going to put them up into the bun. All right, now I have this guy kind of flying free, and I think I will twist this and put it in right here. So again, this is about balance. This is about your eye. This is about maybe what the bride really likes. But because you have this great foundation, you know that you have a spot to pin these ends in. And if you notice, I'm really not touching these curls too much. I really want the look to be very clean, even though it's quote unquote messy. And I don't touch the curls very much, and that helps to create that style. Okay, my last one right here is this one. So I'm just gonna put one pin in right here. So let me see if I can get close so I can show you how I do that. So all I do is grab the center of the curl. So I'm sticking my bobby pin in that, and then you can kind of lift up a curl underneath and wiggle it in. And if you want to have the whole end in, then you can just tuck it all the way in with your finger, or you can leave a little end out, like these ones, if you want to have it be more that messy style. All right, so at this point, what you want to do is decide, okay, do I like these hanging out? Do I want them all pulled in? Is the front how I want it? So you're gonna want to stand in front of your bride, say, okay, like, do I need to have a little more balance over on this side? Do I want this in tighter? Do I want this lower? How do I like it? All that stuff. So just making sure she likes it. And then looking at the side and seeing like, okay, maybe I could pull this up a little bit. Maybe I could pull these up. Some of that is just talking with your bride about it. It's talking in your head about it to see what you like. But you could also, you know, pull all these up and still have a really pretty low updo. So that is the overall idea on how to do a low, messy, kind of undone updo. And just to recap on how to break down a picture is the first one is you want to look and find out where is the foundation, where are you going to be pulling all the hair to, what direction does it go for your foundation. 2, what kind of volume does it have? Is it really high? Is it low? Is it a lot of curls? Is it twists? Is it a braid? What's going on in the volume? And by that, you'll figure out how much hair you need to save out in the bottom. So just to talk about that a little bit more, like say your bride has a really thick, there's a picture and has a really thick braid going across, and then it has a huge bun in the back. So if you have a thick braid on the side, you need to have enough hair that gathers all into that braid. So if you start doing that and then you realize the bride doesn't have very much hair, you're not going to have much left for the bottom. So looking at a picture that has a really thick braid and a lot on the bottom, you know you might need to have extensions. So that's why you really want to think about the top and how that volume looks before you even get started. So when you start to break down how you're going to do the updo, you need to be thinking about that. And then step 3 is going to be asking the bride what she likes about the picture. So specifically, does she like the curl? Does she like the placement? Does she like the size? Does she like the volume? What are the things about it that she likes? Because, you know, we know what we like and we know what we're seeing, but our brides are seeing something different, and there's something different that they like. So that's the most important part of breaking down a picture, when you're not just trying to replicate it for the sake of replicating it, but when you're doing it for a bride for her wedding day. So yeah, that's what I would do for this one, and then I'd finish it with a hard hold hairspray and some anti-humidity spray or shine spray, and then just make sure it's all clean and in, and that there's no frizzy pieces hanging out, so you can use some hairspray and your tail comb to smooth down. So I would do it like this. I would spray, and then I would take my tail comb and just smooth over the top like this. So if you guys have any questions about this particular style, please put them in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, I was trying to get this going on my computer. I couldn't get the video to work. I don't know. I'm not very tech savvy. I'm on my phone right now, and I don't know if I can see any comments. So if you have a question, post it here. You can put a question in right now, and I'll see if it pops up in my phone if I can answer it. Otherwise, you can watch it, put questions on later, and I can answer it. And then I just wanted to mention too, if you like my teaching style, if there's more things you want to learn, if you want to keep working with me, I have the Updo Collective membership community, and I've been talking about that a lot this month because I'm opening the doors for it again August 1st. And that is a monthly membership where I'm teaching a live updo workshop like this every month, and then I do a live Q&A afterwards in our own private Facebook group, and we talk about how to do the updo, holding you accountable to doing the updo itself, and then also just talking about how to build our bridal businesses, having community around being freelance hairstylists, so we can support each other and grow in our craft and grow in our businesses. And so it's just, I'm trying to build this really great community, and it's been great. We've been doing it for 3 months so far, and I've been teaching these updos, and then I also send a PDF with the breakdown of the updos, so you can have that on your phone, so when you're going to do a bride, or you're going to do a bridesmaid, and you're like, oh yeah, I learned that at the Updo Collective, you have a PDF that you can just look at step by step if you forget some of the steps. And then I also am just building core content in there as well. So if you're someone who's newer to updos and you feel like you just need a good foundational base, every month I'm adding new content in that group for building up just your foundational updo skills. And then lastly, it's like, you know, as with anything, we need to be practicing and working on our craft all the time, and you need to be held accountable. So I don't normally get things done unless I have some sort of accountability. And that's what I want to do for you. I know that I can scroll Instagram all day long and watch videos, but how often I actually execute them and try them out, not as much. And I also know I spent hundreds of dollars going to updo workshops where I learn to updo, and then I come home and maybe I remember it, maybe I don't. But it's a lot of money to go on site and learn 1 or 2 updos. And with this membership, you're learning a new one every month in the context of community, live. You can ask questions, get a lot of feedback on your work too. So you can post your updo in the Facebook group. I can look at it and help you out as you would do in an updo workshop, but for like a fraction of the cost. So keep that in the back of your mind. I'm going to be talking about more how to join in the next week. August 1st is when that opens. Other than that, please post any questions or comments. I will be sure to come back and answer them. And again, thank you guys so much for joining me today. And I'm happy to do this. I'm happy to take suggestions for more updos you want to learn. But thanks so much for joining me and being here. I really appreciate it. And I will check back in the comments to see if you have any questions. So thanks a lot for joining me, and I will see you all soon. All right, bye guys.